Okay, so we've seen our introductory quick search, we've seen our intermediate structured searches. Now let's take a look at what we have for advanced searches. Again, I go to the search menu, choose advanced. This is our structured advanced query page, which gives you a structured table-based format for constructing queries that will use the BioVelo language to query against our databases. Now, even with the structure here, it's helpful to know how a Pathway Tools database fits together to really make a powerful query against it. And so that's why this is the advanced query. You're going to need to tinker a little bit and learn about how the database is built to get the most out of it. And once you're feeling very advanced, you can switch to the freeform page and write the queries yourself from a command line sort of interface. I'm not going to go into detail about the advanced query page right now. This is the introductory webinar. Once you've had some experience and you have a little knowledge about how the databases stick together, then you'll be able to write queries and come back and look at the upcoming future webinar that we're going to have about things like the structured advanced query. If we go back to search, you can see we had a couple of other options. We had an ontologies option. So an ontology is a way of categorizing knowledge. It's a structured hierarchy. We already saw that a little bit when we glanced in on the cell component and pathway ontologies. And that's what we give you access to here. Things like the gene ontology, the EC ontology, which is just the EC number hierarchy, and the compound ontology. So for example, if I go over here and click on gene ontology, I'm taken to a page that shows me a very collapsed view of the Go hierarchy. Now you can expand any component here. Let's start expanding out the molecular function area. And we could just keep doing this and browse down to the level of detail we wanted and then click on something. So let's say we're looking at structural molecule activity and we want to expand that. And now we have an actual list. Or I could look at the structural constituents of the ribosomes or outer membrane protein. I can click through on any one of these. Let's click through on the flagellar P-ring protein. This takes us through to the flagellar P-ring proteins page. I'll talk a little bit more about protein pages later, but the point here is that browsing through the ontology means you don't have to know exactly what you're looking for in advance, you just have to know the general category of thing it is. If you're familiar with the Go ontology or another ontology like the EC hierarchy, it gives you an easy, familiar starting point to interact with the BioCyc collection. Let's return to the search menu again, and we see that we have a Google this site option. Now this is exactly what it says. It lets you use the power of Google to do an embedded search within this website. You can use all of your favorite Google syntax, and one of the advantages here is that you can actually search within all the free text on the site, meaning that you can search for statements that you think might be present in, say, protein summaries that aren't actually formally in any structured part of the database. Below the Google option, there was a BLAST option. This lets you use the BLAST tool to blast a given sequence against whatever your selected organism is. And since you're already in BioCyc, you'll be able to quickly go to our description or entry for the gene or proteins that come up as a result of your BLAST search. Finally, in the search menu, we have Texpresso. Texpresso is another advanced search tool for which we'll have a separate demo in a future webinar. But it lets you search the E. coli corpus of 24,000 full-text papers and 6,000 abstracts. Texpresso actually searches within the text of those full-text papers and within the text of those abstracts, and it will actually return to you hits and show you where the thing you're searching for actually happened in those publications. There's also categories, and again this will be described in more detail later, that will let you narrow down a search so that you can start with what would be a laughably general search like magnesium, and you can actually apply a specific category that will maybe narrow it down to just looking for papers that have been tagged as having transporters in them. And suddenly you're doing a very reasonable search for a magnesium transporter without having to find the exact phrase magnesium transporter. So these are the search tools that you have available within the BioCyc family of websites. From here, we're going to go on to talk about how you can use specific pathway genome databases using EcoCyc as an example. And to start that out, we're going to want to look at the big picture. So I hope you'll follow me to the next webinar where we'll do just that.